I do got to get to the bank, ironically.
Ironically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
After the financial hacks. Jake, tee us off.
Okay, so my go-to in this, and it's just because it's like the most basic thing ever, but so many people, because they treat real estate as just like a job instead of a business,
Yeah.
they fail to set up a business account
Yes.
where they operate it like a real business, right? So there's so many times where I've just talked to people about different things, coachings, referral programs, whatever it may be.
Right.
And it's usually like when it gets to the point where it's tough to make a decision, I'll ask the question, like, do you have a business account set up? And like 9 times out of 10, the answer is no.
Right.
And so you're making a decision out of what everybody has to make their personal life decisions based off of, rather than operating a business. Like with this business, nice, large, established, growing, Inc. 5000. Like, imagine if all money just went through one person's personal account and paid all the employees, all the marketing costs, all everything.
That would be heartbreaking.
Right. It would force it to be just a different decision making process. And so being able to run it in and run a real budget, like the top teams, there's so many of them that run it really well,
right?
Because they'll have all the money come in and they'll pay themselves a salary.
Yeah. And what a benefit that is. I mean, can you imagine being in real estate and getting a 6-figure salary and knowing that's coming no matter what, right?
Yep.
Like, that's the dream. And so how do you start? Where do you start? I think in the beginning, you have to have some core capital stacked up, right? So whatever your bills are times 3, that should be the bare minimum that you keep in your business account. Should be personal as well. I like 6 months, right? But 3 is a good place to start. So if your bills for your real estate business are $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, you need $6,000, you need $15,000, and that should be your net zero, right? And that should always be in there in case something happens, in case COVID, in case you go into a dry spell, in case the market shifts, and you don't react quick enough to pivot your marketing, pivot your business to be able to capture market share during those times. For me, I remember when I first got a business account. And I remember the feeling, right? It was another feeling of relief because now I could separate. All right, when I put money in my personal account, that's mine, and I can spend that. Prior to, I was like so conservative, and it was hard to make investments in my business because it did feel like, oh, this is money I don't know when it's going to come back. I don't have a structure to it. I don't feel like I should be spending my own personal money on this. But when you put the money into your business account and then you pay yourself a static percentage out of every single check, which is how it should be. Every other business, if you think about it, right, has overhead. I always say hot dogs. Everybody laughs. But even hot dogs, you got to buy the material, right? If you had a car dealership, you'd have to pay for the financing of the floor plan. If you had a carpet store, you'd have to pay for the carpet, right?
If you had makeup, you had to pay for the makeup.
100%. You got to pay, right? You got to have money to stay in business. And in real estate, most people don't think of it in that manner. And so it's an important distinction, and it's so simple, but that would be step 1. Get yourself a business account set up. Every commission that comes in needs to be deposited into your business account. And then out of that, you need to create a percentage budget. How much of it comes back to you? In the beginning, it could be 50-50. It could just be simple, easy, right? 50% goes to you, 50% goes to you, 50% goes towards your business. And then out of that 50%, first, you want to stack core capital. Then you want to get a percentage of money that you're going to use to invest back into the business. Pardon me, at a minimum, just shooting from the hip, if you're going to pay us 25% for a referral, you should at least allocate 25% towards marketing, right? So that you can pay yourself to get business. And it's a recyclable situation. So every deal that you close, you've got 25% of that to go get you 2 more deals, right? So you're compounding the growth by having some semblance of a plan instead of just winging it, putting all the money in your account, spending it unwisely most often, right? And then going into a situation where you can't make investments. My dad always said, man can't think straight unless he has 10 grand in the bank. And as I got older, I was like, why 10 grand? He's like, it wasn't 10 grand. He's like, it's a different number for everybody. The number needs to be 3 months of core capital, right? 3 months of your expenses. If you have no expenses, then you need to start budgeting to have expenses so that you can invest back into your business and grow.
Yep. And we used to talk about this all the time in the coaching side. And it was like, if you have to make decisions in your business based off of cash flow versus just what's best for your business,
Right.
you're already at a disadvantage.
100%.
Like, and so you can put yourself in those positions, and it's just, you have to be really disciplined. That's like one of your most admired traits that I have for you, is like your discipline is off the charts. Right?
Yeah, about some things and not so much on others. But yeah, especially when it comes to finance and delayed gratification, you know, and it
Bone broth.
yeah,
The
yeah.
cleanse.
Yeah, I like to challenge myself, but I really believe that that's where people, they can't make a quality decision. That was the whole thing of my dad saying. He's like, you can't think straight. You can't make a good decision because you're going to make it out of necessity instead of out of opportunity if you don't have a budget in place and set up. And so when it comes to that, if you have that separate account, every time you're putting money in there, you're going to be able to say, okay, this is going towards that. This is going towards that. This is going towards that. And if you have trouble with that, what I do is I use the American Express card, and I'll have a separate card with a budget on it, right? Like a cap, So, all right, I'm going to spend $2,000 a month in marketing because I know that I'm going to put at least, $4,000 a month into my business account. So I would get an American Express card with a separate card, which is free to do, by the way, once you pay the initial $295 for the month, or for the year rather. Once that card maxes out, I know it's over. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to count it. I don't have to balance the checkbook. I don't have to go online to see how much is left. I can just keep dinging that thing until it stops, right? And I know it resets next month. It's just an easy, idiot-proof way to budget, and it's one of my favorites, right? I was going to grab my stack. I got a stack like 20, 30 cards that everybody uses in here, and they all operate the same way.
Internal marketing, external marketing.
100%, right? Card's not working. Ooh. That means we got to wait till next month.
That's so
But you
funny.
pay it off every month because it's a charge card, not a credit card, right? So Amex, that's the requirement, and it forces you into some fiscal discipline in that regard.
And I think that some of the pitfalls that people fall into when they don't have things like that set up, especially the ones that, I've been around a lot of the top agents in the country, and so many of them have similar personality traits.
Yeah.
Where it's like, go, 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 go.
I know who you're
like
talking about.
full absolute balls. Right.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Right. And so putting something like that in place is great because it's so easy. And especially once you start getting good at real estate, where it's like, you really can order up deals like Krispy Kremes, and you're like, I know exactly what's coming, blah, 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 blah. You start getting this feeling of like you're invincible a little bit, and like the money's always going to be coming. Right. And it's like, well, I'm going to be growing. So you just justify purchases with like, oh, that's just one more deal next month.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I'll sell my way out of it.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do
Until
that.
you can't. Until you stops. Like, shift happens, right? And it's just a common part of being in business, especially in America today. Like my entire duration of time being in business, 9/11, Great Recession, COVID, it's always something. Right now we got the tariffs, who knows how that's going to shake out, right? Like, it's always something. So you just want to be prepared so that when those things happen, you are in a position to gain market share where everybody else is shrinking back. They're scared. They're fearful, right? Warren Buffett has a saying, when others are fearful, be greedy. When others are greedy, be fearful, right? So it's that time to do that, to utilize, to gain market share when everybody else is taking their foot off the gas. If you have a process, and it can be as simple as that, 50-50 split, 25 back in your marketing. Why marketing? Because marketing is really the product, right? Really, when you think about it, like in real estate, when you get a listing, you put it on the market. That means to market. That means marketing, right? So like, if you don't have a way to take dollars, turn them into customers, right, in a consistent basis, then you're missing the point of business. I don't care what business it is, right? Every business, there's some semblance of that. Otherwise, the business doesn't exist. And you need to have that, and you need to have a budget for that. And when you get good at it, in the beginning, knowing that most of your competitors aren't doing that, you're already at an advantage. But as you get better, if you can spend more than your competitors, you're always going to be able to beat them. You're always going to be able to win. And that's a fantastic place to be, because then you're playing a cheat code game to where they can't keep up. And I like having a competitive advantage that other people can't keep up with. That's my favorite thing, right?
I just had this conversation today when we were on the road, and The rent program that we were selling at the time was like $1,500 a month, $2,500 a month, somewhere in that range. And there were people that bought that never even logged in because the only reason they bought was that their biggest competitor was in the room and they just wanted to box them out of another opportunity for them to
100%.
get ahead, right? Like imagine being in a situation where you can afford $1,500 or $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month, something in that, and you only buy it so the other person doesn't get ahead, right? Like that is a good spot to be able to be in the financial side where that's built into the budget.
Absolutely.
Where you can spend that kind of money. And then the other thing that you said, and it's been sticking with me a lot lately, we've talked about it a lot over the last few years, but for some reason it just keeps sticking and I start hearing it in different places. But you just kind of touched on it of like people have systems to bill you every single month, and the agents that struggle the most and are in the worst spots, that are in the most uncomfortable spots, mainly financially, is just because they don't have systems in place to have closings on a consistent basis.
Right.
And I heard a call today. There was an
He
agent.
says it like way better.
Yeah, I know. Way better. We're going to have to cut to that clip. That link is above. For an agent, I was just randomly listening to a call today, and there was an agent, and it was just like, all I saw was this person coming up trying to get a fish when we were like, trying to offer fishing lessons so they never had to ask for a fish ever again. Right. And it was just like so clear in this call. It was like, you're missing the point of what you need to do in your business.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So when you have a separate account and you have money to invest back into your business, investing into yourself is part of that, right? And you can invest that into two places. Obviously, you're going to have overhead, right? You got the gas in the car, you got the cell phone bill, you got things of that nature, right? But investing into training and investing into marketing are the two biggest levers that you can have in your business to get an outcome that you're trying to acquire. And so if you invest in those two things, number one, when you invest in yourself, nobody can ever take it away from you. And there's multiple paths. There's multiple trainers. There's multiple people that can get you there. Just pick one that feels right for you and start there. Don't start with 4 or 5 at a time and go as far as you can down that path. I switch masterminds usually every year, right? Maybe 2 years because they get stale, things of that nature happen. And I want to be around different people with different ideas and different perspectives. So, for me, I've got that built into the budget. It's a pretty much static thing. It's a lot of money, but I don't think twice about spending it because I know not spending it costs me so much more money. And the same with marketing. We just did a couple of things recently, in both regards. And I was like, man, maybe I should wait. Maybe I should double step it. But the money's there. There's no reason to wait other than just I'm so conservative. And when you don't look at it as an expense and you realize what you're actually doing, you're making an investment, it's a different perspective, right? I might make this investment and it might not bring back a return. It might not bear fruit, right? That's the thing about some investments, but I'm still going to try because this is the most likely to make me the money that I want to make. So I'm going to invest in that right now. And then we'll see what comes out of it. And if it doesn't work, fine, back to the drawing board. I'll stop investing in that and I'll go invest in the next thing. And it's the same with marketing, the same exact playbook, right?
Yeah. And there's so many times where that can happen. And if you could go as like a financial planner out selling some investments that you can make on some of the returns that you can get on either personal investment or marketing, combination of the two is probably the best.
100%.
Where it's like, in the tens of thousands of percents on return,
It's
right?
unlimited. In fact,
crazy.
If you were able to, a lot of people, if they look behind the curtain and they saw how some of these coaches actually think, they're so mad that they don't participate in the upside. Right? They're so mad because you learn so much. Same with the lead gen, right? Like that's why almost all of them are pivoting towards more of a referral model because we know that it works. We know that it makes them so much money. We want to be able to continue to grow as they grow, right? And that's why especially some of the big dogs have pivoted hard towards that and are going to continue to. But the reality is for you, once you learn this thing and it changes the trajectory of where you're trying to go, quantify that out over time of where you end up. And it's staggering, right? You just never can guess how much of an impact that's going to have. But it all stems to being able to have good financial planning in place in the first place. Even my personal budget, like my wife, we just had Easter. She's like, I almost maxed out my budget on the Amex. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? She's like, well, you could have offered me another card since we were hosting. I was like, you could have brought it up, It's too late now. We're going to tighten our belt the rest of the month, because that's how I run my personal budget too. Like, yeah, this is the amount for the household. This is the amount on that card. The flip side of that is she'll spend it all because there's no rollover.
Right. That's not big. It's not singular.
Yeah. If I gave it to her in cash, we'd be eating ramen every night. She'd have a stack in the closet.
Have you seen that episode of The Office when Michael finds out there's a surplus and that he gets to keep a percentage of it? And it starts out they're trying to figure out what to buy, and he finds out there's a surplus, so he goes and spends it all at Burlington Coat Factory to buy a big old fur coat. That's all I pictured down his market. Like, yeah, I need a coat. Like, it's August.
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. But at a minimum, if you're taking away anything from this and you don't have a business account, that's step one. Go set one up. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can do LLC. You don't have to do an LLC. Just separate the funds. And every time you get a commission check, deposit it into there. Take your percentage, right? And leave the other half in there. You'll be amazed how good that feels. And you do that over time. Like I said, you get that core capital in there. And then once it gets beyond that core capital, then you're looking for some investments you can make. Where can I put this in to get a return on my investment? So marketing always brings a return, right? Investing in yourself, the coaching and training always brings a return. That's what you want to do. And then once you've tapped that out, then you want to go in and reconfigure your budget, right? And you can take the cash, the excess cash, right? They call it King's cash in one of the models that I've seen. You take it quarterly, right? Take a big old chunk. If there's too much in there, it's past the core capital. It's past what you need to invest. And that's just a good way to begin and run your business.
Yep.